Hi, this is Natalie Lander, voice of Kinsey, Tara Branford, Stargirl, and many others. You are listening to a W2Mnet podcast. You can visit W2Mnet.com for other podcasts about entertainment, video games, sports, and wrestling.
And good evening, and welcome to the second episode of Black Irish here on the W2M Network. I'm your host, Jason Teasley, and I'm the Irish part of the podcast. Joining me tonight is the Black Irish, the black part of the podcast, Mr. Erik Watkins.
Technically, I am part Irish, but nowhere near as much as you. But yeah, I'm black, y'all. What's up?
Well, technically, me and you both fit the Black Irish manifest because Black Irish is defined as not having traditional features of Native Irishmen. So we both kind of fit in there, but you're a little bit blacker than I am.
Oh, it's all in the blood and stuff. Isn't genealogy wonderful?
Yes. Well, on our second episode, I feel that this is going to be, hopefully this isn't going to be a reoccurring theme. We're going to tackle the latest news coming out of Disney Plus, where they have deemed the 70s Muppet variety show as racist and insensitive. So I know that me and you talked a little bit about this off air, Erik. So just hearing about that, how does that make you feel?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Do I see where they're coming from in maybe one or two ways? Yes. However, and this was something that I even brought up off air as well. What they're doing is, thankfully, they're not editing the episodes, which is great because having seen some of the original 70s Muppet Show episodes as a kid myself, I thought they were funny. But they're going to go ahead and label with a disclaimer. I'm not necessarily as big of a fan of a disclaimer because as we were talking off air and with Harry, our co-host on the kickoff, which you can also listen to here on the W2M Network, he had mentioned one time when he was looking at on cable just late last year, Rush Hour 2.
That was me.
Oh, was that you? I thought that was him.
No, it was. I brought it up, and Harry had seen it as well because it came on TNT after an AEW Dynamite episode. That it came up with a disclaimer stating that when the movie was made, the world was different, and it has some insensitive topics and stuff. Now, on a network television, like I said, I'm not a fan of the disclaimers. I'm not a fan of the quote unquote cancel culture. I mean, we talked about that last week on our debut episode,
right.
Addressing Disney Plus as well. So, I mean, it's the Muppets. It's a variety show. It was made over 40. So,
almost,
it's made over 40
50 years ago. Almost 50 years ago.
So, I mean, that's like taking. All right, I won't put this in retrospect. I'm 42 years old.
Mm-hmm.
This came out before I was even born.
Mm-hmm.
My beliefs as 42-year-olds differ than somebody that's in their 20s, such as our other co-host on the kickoff, Kennedy. I mean, we have different views of the world because of the world we grew up in. As well as, you know, you and Harry are a little bit younger than me, but kind of share some of the same experiences. We're in that generation that experienced all the transgressions and all the technological movements that we benefit from today.
Right.
But you can't. That's like taking your grandparent and saying, "Okay, I want you to meet my grandparents, but I want to go ahead and forewarn you, you know, just because they grew up in a different time and they believe totally different than you. I mean, do you put that preference on everybody, on your elders? I mean, that's like good example, Mama Watkins. I mean, if you had to put a disclaimer on Mama Watkins anytime you introduced her, I mean, how would that feel?
I would just feel a bit weird because it's like, okay, I know her, she's my mom. She and I even have talks, and we always come to the common consensus. The world that she grew up in, 50s, 60s, 70s, going on before I was born, and the world I've grown up in are totally different. And in a lot of ways, we both come to the consensus for her. In a lot of aspects, it was better. But that's just a thing that it's implied, and it leads to some great conversations without having that disclaimer. It's just understood. You learned something. So putting a disclaimer on that before I meet people, that would be like, it's pointless because you're already setting up a potential negative impression, taking away the opportunity of a fun experience. And when I see disclaimers on this, and when you were mentioning the disclaimer on Rush Hour 2, my immediate thought is, when does it stop? Yes, do they have moments that won't play the same way today as they did when they came out? Absolutely, times do change. However, if you're already setting up to where nobody can look at it with an open mind, then why have it out there to begin with?
Yeah, I mean, it takes into the consideration you're setting yourself up for failure
Mm-hmm.
before, and I think something like this, I'm all about teaching moments. I have a daughter, and I like to teach her through things. So if I see something that from my childhood that may not transition well to today's society, I take those opportunities to explain why something was said or done or how it was interpreted. Because I mean, you got to look. And this is a great example. Something me and my daughter just recently described and discussed. She's seen something. It was an old cartoon. I think it was. I want to say it was Hanna Barbera or Tex Avery cartoon, something like that. And it was 10 little Indians, and they showed Indians as savages and all
Mm-hmm.
this, which goes back to this Disney Plus thing with the Muppets. You got to think at that time you had a lot more reservations. You had a lot more Native Americans living on reservations that still adapted their heritage. They were not integrated into society like they are now. We
Right.
wasn't the melting pot we were now.
Right.
And that's what you got to do. You got to take those opportunities to teach, because a difficult conversation can become a great teaching opportunity. Uh, Now, like I said, me and the running joke is, you know, you're black, I'm white. Um, we have running jokes together. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
somebody did not know us, and know the friendship me and you have, some of our jokes would be taken really offensively,
Oh,
maybe offensive to people.
absolutely. I mean, some people would
But
look at you crossways, and then other people would look at me just as weird for participating in it. But
but it's a running joke, and we take the negativity that a lot of people put out in the world, and we turn it to a thing to make light of. And through that, we're some of the conversations we've had uh, on various podcasts as well as off air gives us the opportunity to take those difficult conversations and open up conversation. And I think that's the problem that society is having today. A lot of people do not have the conversations. They're easily offended. They don't realize, 50 years ago, this world a vastly different thing. 60 years ago, some of the stuff your mother dealt with, which I'm sure was horrific,
Mm-hmm.
that is not the world today.
Right.
And you, you take those moments, you take those awkward interactions and those portrayals, and you use them as teaching moments. So you have to say, well, yeah, back then it was a whole different world. People knew how to take a joke. As like the joke, uh, somebody, you insert name here. What's the difference of insert name here and um, a 12-inch dildo? A 12-inch dildo and a joke. Your mom could take a 12-inch dildo. Jokes like that. Uh, and, and it's the fact that we have lost the ability to make fun of ourselves, and we've taken stuff way too serious. Yes, is there some negative portrayals in the world? Absolutely. And there's something I'm going to touch on here shortly. I'm going to give you a chance to talk because this is a great example that I'm going to bring up here shortly.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you in the fact that there are some negative portrayals and some stereotypes and stuff that don't make sense. And my mom was even telling me about stories of people she dealt with at work who fell into that mindset and had those particular things, and it was a very enlightening conversation. Did she necessarily like them? No. But did she stop working with them or doing anything like that? Absolutely not. She used that as a great learning experience throughout all of her time at her job, and that's great. And at the same time, especially for someone like me, this is a bit of a fine line, but that's what we walk here on Black Irish. I get some
Yeah.
stereotypes are entirely fucked up. I get that. But in some cases, even to today, those stereotypes are still true. Now, how you react to those stereotypes is entirely up to you. If you want to sit and get butthurt about them, well, I would hope you use that butthurt and at least try to fix it. But if you know that you don't fall into a lot of those stereotypes or things and you know you're different, then you can go ahead and have a laugh about it. And you can also go ahead and use that as a teaching moment as well. You can make that into a positive experience. Should those stereotypes exist? Probably not. But if they do, okay, you can use and propel that to where maybe someday they will go away. And then we can go back to a point to where everything is just jokes because we know better. But if you're going to sit and always get butthurt about something, well then, what are you really doing to improve? If you're sitting there raging, getting pissed off, then this is where it leads to where we are right now. Everybody has to walk on eggshells, and I can't stand that. So, yes, we as a society in a lot of ways have evolved. We've got a long way to go. No denying that, but we can get to the point to where we can look back and see, yes, this was different. Let's see why this was different. And then just go back to having fun. I don't see too much harm in any of that.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring up 2 points, and then I want to reference something before we wrap up this segment. Now, first and foremost, I want to say this, and I'm going to get your opinion on this. It's a straightforward question, but I want to make a statement about here on the Black Irish Podcast. We're here to make those difficult conversations. We're not going to be PC. Me and Erik are politically correct.
Nope.
And if that's your cup of tea, I appreciate you tuning in, but this is going to be your cup of tea. And I'm sure that Sean's email will not appreciate you spamming him with your disdain for mine and Eric's opinions. That's the point of it. It's mine and Eric's opinions. And we welcome any kind of discussion that anybody may have. We've had a couple of these that spurred the Black Irish on our kickoff show on the Let's Talk About It segments and shows where we tackled a lot of things and it showed our serious side. And this is what we're here on to do on the Black Irish. We're going to tackle topics that other people may shy away from in a form that may make you uncomfortable. With that being said, how I want to say this, depictions in history. I'll be for it first and foremost. Do I support, do I think blackface was right? No. For that time period? No. Even for that time period? No. But is it a part of our history? Yes. We can use the use of blackface being used in film and television to educate people of why it was wrong, why the minstrel shows were very, very inappropriate, because they depicted African Americans as really highly uneducated. Typically, you had a stereotypical, if it was a lady that was being portrayed, she had a big ass, kind of heavy set, well endowed chest area, huge lips, super dark face, and basically the quote unquote mammy stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
A good example is something that I thought was ridiculous that got canceled because it was a cultural icon growing up for me, and even until it got canceled now, is the Aunt Your Mama and Mrs. Butterworth figurines and depictions and characters. If you're looking to see what I'm talking about a female minstrel narrative, it was basically Aunt Your Mama or Aunt Your Mama. But with that being said, historically, if you go back, that is the dress, the body structure and stuff of slaves of that time period.
Oh yeah.
So it is historically semi-accurate. Therefore, and do you think that the lady that posed for that, and that was that caricature, which she was a real lady, that most of you don't know, and her family was getting an extremely massive amount of royalties because of the product and her likeness being on it for not only the shirt but anything branded by that company. They had to sign off on that. And I'm sorry, Eric, me and you, if somebody's going to make fun of me and you and paint us in a negative connotation, are we going to would you sell your likeness, or do you have a price tag that you would sell your likeness to be degraded?
No lie, and this is going to sound shitty for me to say, but while my price tag is very high, I'm one of those that follows the practice. Everybody has a price. If I have at least some control over it to where I'm in on the joke, that may lower my price tag a little bit, because at least I know, hey, I'm in on it, I'm a part of it, I can't go around and be a hypocrite and all this and that and making money. That's something that I would have to live with. But if I'm able to use that and use that money to go ahead and equalize and potentially donate to better causes or do a lot of these things like that, or to help people and help my family, yeah, for a certain amount of zeros, several zeros, I'd be willing to do that. I'm not going to sit here and say no.
All right, so just to give you some background on the Angel Mama story. The lady that was the character was Nancy Green. Do you know when she portrayed her for the very first time?
Because Aunt Jemima's been around fucking forever. If I had to guess, I would say sometime in the 30s.
Try 1893.
Oh, Jesus.
Nancy Green portrayed Aunt Jemima in 1893 at the World Columbian Expo in Chicago.
Okay.
One of the first black corporate models in the United States.
Okay, so groundbreaking, and you're talking about a time really right, not quite in the height of, but well into Reconstruction, late in the 19th century. So, yeah, that was a pretty significant event.
Yeah, I mean, was it? It was based on the enslaved mammy archetype, a blunt black woman wearing headscarf who devoted to and is a devoted and submissive servant. So that that in condensation is part of history. This was groundbreaking. And do you think? And let's take a look here at this, and it's going to be really eye-opening for you. This is 2021.
Yeah.
Cost of living is pretty high.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody came up to you, Erik, and said, look, we're going to make you into a character for our brand, you know, your family, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, everybody's going to be set for life. If you're in a position of struggling to make ends meet and somebody offers you a payday that guarantees that they're going to take care of your family for multiple generations, how do you feel?
I'm like, all right, what have I got to do? Let's do this.
Exactly. So, I mean, you're going to put family first. I think anybody listening to this, I know myself, knowing you the way you do, if you could take care of your mom where your mom had nothing to worry about, or your nieces and nephews and everybody had nothing to worry about.
Yeah, take care of my mom, take care of my nephew, all of them would be set. That would be perfect for me.
Yeah, so let's think about this now. In 1893, over 100 years ago, African Americans wasn't getting very much work, especially in a corporate world. Seeing this was, like you said, groundbreaking, and went on to be one of the, if not the most recognizable, brands in the food industry. I mean, so knowing that and looking at it this way is, do I think the portrayal was wrong? No, I don't. I'll say it no, because it was an opportunity to break into it as an African American and as a woman. Let's throw that out there as well. To be a national, a worldwide, eventually trademarked, recognizable marketing opportunity to ensure that your family was taken care of. Now, did they probably pay her a lot back then? No, I would say not. But the royalties that came down the line, yes. I think that I think that, and a lot of people will probably say, oh, you can't put a price tag on humanity. You do it every day.
I'm actually going to drop a statistic on you about this. the World Health Organization, when everybody says, oh, you can't put a price tag on a human life, the World Health Organization actually did just that. Now, I don't know if this number has been updated, because I saw this about 10 years ago-ish. But even back then, they said between earning potential, everything going on, different economies and stuff like that, a life is worth $8.3 million.
Okay, yeah, and if you can't put a price tag on life, educate me on big farm medications.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that's a whole different discussion that we'll get into at a later date and time. But one thing I want to point out is, with that being said, and it's a good segue into this, um, the 75 years ago, you seen one of the most inspiring and absolutely phenomenal performances that nobody will ever see because of cancel culture. Two brothers. It was a dance routine by two brothers, the Nicholas brothers, Fayard and Harold. Um, did a one take. Now get this, it's a one take choreographed dance routine in a movie, Stormy Weather, um, that came out in 1943. And it was part of what is dubbed now a minstrel show. But these two African American dancers performed a inspiring, jaw-dropping performance in one take. And I just recently seen it on something. I think it was on Watch Mojo on YouTube, and I came across it. It was probably when I was falling asleep, and it was one of those times that everything just ran. And I seen it, and I watched it. I've watched it multiple times. Our friend Liz Puglisi posted about it in our TV chat room on Facebook, where we discussed multiple facets of television. But yeah, I mean, it was 75 years ago. They did a solid one take, and it's been dubbed the greatest dancing performance ever seen on film. It was an aerobatic routine to Cab Calloway's hit song "Jumping Jive." It was unrehearsed, and what you see is what they done on the first take. If you have not seen this, or you want to look this up, go to YouTube. It's on YouTube. Only thing you got to do is, pretty sure, just type in Nicholas Brothers or a Stormy Weather dance performance. And it's just like, I mean, it's inspiring. But a lot of people today think that it is offensive because it was part of a minstrel show.
I'm actually going to one-up you a little bit. This was a movie when I was in high school. My calculus teacher, Mr. Howard, he would always reference this. And one day late in one school year, he actually showed it to us, and I looked at it again on my own time. It's a movie that came out about not even 20 years ago, called Bamboozled. Very well cast. Savion Glover, Damon Wayans, Michael Rappaport, few others. Well cast, brilliantly done. But it was basically about a black major TV producer bringing back minstrel shows on TV, and everything behind the scenes and the show itself and what it really means to culture and stuff. And for something like that, you would immediately say, oh no, what's the point of that? And that's racist and blah, blah, blah. Cancel culture today would be all over it. But if you actually sat and watched the movie, and especially the end, your mind would be blown. But it was a good movie, and it's something you can take a lot away from. So it's just another one of those instances. Jason's bringing up a little homework for the audience, and I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to turn the tables. Find the movie Bamboozled. Look at it.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's worth a look, and it kind of plays into what we've been talking about, but it also shows if we really keep going down this rabbit hole of cancel culture, movies like Bamboozled wouldn't even exist.
Well, I mean, a lot of films that were made would no longer exist. I mean, could you imagine trying to make Blazing Saddles now?
Oh, hell no. Hell no.
I mean, even movies in the 80s and 90s. That's like, I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you a joke, and, you know, it's an offensive joke. I'll go ahead and preference that. So if you get offended, sorry, you know, sorry you have no sense of humor. That's it reminds me of a joke. I can't remember who told it. It was a comedian I seen. I actually think it was a black comedian that I seen. So it might have been, you know, on a Richard Pryor set, Cosby, some of the early stuff. And that's what they was talking about Saturday morning cartoons. And they said, have you ever seen the Jetsons? And, you know, somebody else, yeah, I've seen it. He's like, why is there no black people in the Jetsons? And they're like, and, you know, and you never notice it until you're asked about it. Mm-hmm. And then you sit there and think, and he laughed, he went, future looks bright, doesn't
it? I remember that joke. And then someone even they had an offshoot about that. They also mentioned the Flintstones. And I'm like, in a lot of ways, I laugh at it. As someone who watched the Flintstones and watched the Jetsons growing up, I didn't notice until after the fact. It's like, holy shit. But did I get offended? No. I mean, these were cartoons back in the 50s. Hell, legally, by U.S. law, up until the 60s, you couldn't even have interracial couples on television, even in a commercial. It wasn't until Star Trek back in 67 had the first interracial kiss.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that there's a lot of stuff that you know, that was taboo even in the 80s and early 90s when it came to race, which is mind blowing. You know, it's like, you know, it's like the joke I made to you that came from don't be a menace to your hood while drinking juice in South Central.
Yeah, don't be a menace to South Central while drinking your juice in the hood.
Yeah, it's don't be a menace to society while drinking your juice in the hood, which is a Wayans Brothers. And a scene in it has a lot of children sitting there, and Damon Wayans walks in, and you know, he's talking to this beautiful lady, and she goes, and you know, all the kids are talking, and she looks at him and goes, "What do you say to the nice man?" There's like 6 or 7 of them, and they reply, "Are you my daddy?" You know, it's a joke, but it's also a scary look into society. Because you have a lot of absent fathers in that hierarchy. So we're not going to go. We're not opening that can of worms yet. That's something that we're going to definitely tackle when, you know, me and Erik can actually get some good time to get well sauced and have some really fluid conversations.
Yeah, that's not the one I'd have to get drunk for. That's the one I'm going to need weed for. Just to warn everybody.
So with that being said, our next segment is going to be brought to you by our sponsors at Grammarly.com.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're talking about this and you weren't sure exactly how to go with the movie titles or everything that we mentioned, and you're typing them down to take notes, if you have a Grammarly extension available, either as the standalone app or as the Grammarly widget in your Chrome browser, it would have easily made those corrections for you or spot, hey, is this what you really mean? And we're not just talking about simple things like spell check. Oh no. We are talking hundreds of complex spelling and grammatical errors, some of which you wouldn't have even known that existed. I mean, hell, I've learned more about things like a dangling participle just with Grammarly than I had with the entirety of me in English class. So, Grammarly, very useful in all sorts of fields.
And also, when you're ready to make that nice professional resume, you can use Grammarly to insert and paint the picture of a potential employer that you want to see the potential employer give you. Sometimes, you might be looking for the right word to say and just don't know how to say it. You could type it into Grammarly. It will give you multiple ways of expressing yourself through a highly professional rhetoric that could make you get your point across and make you seem like you are the right person for the job.
Of course, and for between professional resumes or even if you're sending out particular tweets, Grammarly, especially with premium, will let you know, hey, this sounds more informational. This is neutral. This is more fun. So you can really get the vibe of what you're best trying to communicate, no matter what the purpose.
All right. So with that being said, we're going to
Oh,
go right into our
real quick,
second topic. Go
real
ahead.
quick, go to getgrammarly.com/W2M network to join in on the fun. Again, getgrammarly.com/W2M network.
Yeah. So with that, like I said, that brings us to our second topic, which is a really hot button topic, and which has this country divided, and that's politically hypocrisies. And the do as I say, not as I do movement, as I like to refer to it, where you see people that have been out protesting, wear masks, take care of your own and stuff. And we see it on both sides, and we're going to
Mm-hmm.
tackle that everywhere. Everything from Nancy Pelosi getting her hair done, making you see political leaders, not shutting down their particular gym, stating that they have to stay in shape to make the best choices for their constituents, to getting their hair done so they look good for the camera when they're on TV, ranting and raving about all the things that they feel about. And that's the Democratic side. But as a person that is not a very fun lover of the Democratic side, I'm going to actually take a look at it from the other side. And like I said, I'm equally offensive, and we're going to talk about the whole Ted Cruz thing that just surfaced, where his entire state was crippled with massive power outages and freezing temperatures due to the storm that ripped through the nation here over the past day. I mean, I definitely felt it myself, of 11 days without internet and rolling blackouts and stuff at my home. Where he actually took his family to Cancun to escape the cold weather while his constituents was home suffering and trying to get through this winter ice storm that crippled, I think, every state except for, I think it extended all the way from Texas up to Maine.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing was safe was the entire left coast, California and everything, and Florida. Florida was the only East Coast place that was not affected, I don't think. I think everywhere else from Texas over was hit pretty hard with this.
The benefit with Florida, we were spared the cold temperatures, thankfully. Well, cold by Texas and what everybody else dealt with. It got a little bit cool, and we just pretty much dealt with like a week straight of rain. But compared to what everybody else faced, I'm one of the first ones to tell you, we got away pretty much unscathed.
Yeah, yeah, you got to take a look at it. But so I want to get your take on it first, Eric, and then I'll weigh in on my take. So, how do you feel about these political hypocrisies that are out here saying, do this, wear a mask, stay home, don't go out, don't socialize, there's curfews. But yet on the flip side, they're doing whatever they want because they're a politician in power.
Well, I go back to one phrase that you had mentioned as we were getting ready for a kickoff episode, and this is stuck in my mind even more. If you're in Congress, or really in politics in general, you're most likely an asshole. And I'm looking at it like I am damn glad that I don't align myself as a Republican, I don't affiliate with the Republicans, but I'm also equally as glad that I don't consider myself a Democrat and I don't align myself with a lot of Democrats either. I'm proud to be a third party voter, have been for major elections and a lot of elections since 2012. And I've even caught shit for that, but these past years, I've been vindicated. So I see this and I'm thinking, oh, you stand on your pulpit and you're telling everybody, in the case of your House of Representatives, on average, you are overseeing about 530,000 people, give or take. And then if you're in a senator, well then now you're talking a couple million. So you're the ones that's saying, oh, the American people, and we're sticking together, and we're in this with you, and as the American people, you want this and you want that, and we should do all of these things. Well, you're an American person. I'm an American person. Y'all barely ask shit about either of us and what we really want. Yeah, would I like to go out, tutor in person, go and do my side thing, or further enjoy my hobby and get in with everybody on my local Australia rules football team? Yes. And alongside with my other shenanigans that I do? Hell yes. But I can't, because I've got people to look after and I got this to take care of. And you're the ones all saying, oh, well, we're doing this for your benefit. Nancy Pelosi, yeah, even though she was wearing a mask and all this and that, do you really need to get your hair done? I mean, let's be real. If we're talking aesthetics, with how old Nancy Pelosi is, did it really make much of a difference? You could have sat and waited just like millions of other people have and have been bitching about it, not to open up the salon to go ahead and get that haircut. You could have done without. That was offside. And then with Ted Cruz, oh dear Lord. First of all, Texas was warned. Texas had been warned because of what happened 10 years ago. Hey, you need to prepare for this. Everybody who could have really made that decision decided, no, it's better for us and for our top constituents to make money if we don't. Now look what's happening 10 years later. So then Ted Cruz and his wife Heidi say, hey, we're freezing. Why don't we go to the Ritz-Carlton in Cancun? Here's some pictures of it. Here's their rates. Here's this with capacity. All of this was eventually found out and released. So what does Ted Cruz decide to do? Throw his daughters under the bus, saying, oh, I was just trying to be a dad. When have you ever really preached family or anything else? Not to mention do we quickly forget your most recent presidential campaign where you pulled a 180 right after you didn't win so you can suckle off of the teat and get your own power? Fuck right off, the lot of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 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 an equal opportunity offender. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
I call people out on bullshit, um, and this thing is exactly what it was. It was bullshit. From a political standpoint, I think that politicians think they're above of any law,
Mm-hmm.
even their own. Uh, Case in point, old boy in New York that doctored figures of nursing home deaths and everything, and nobody cares. And you're hearing very little about it. The AOC thing of you heard. I mean, you heard a little bit of her when she denied Amazon to come to her district in New York and robbed um, tons of jobs from her constituents that would have been available if Amazon would have set up in her district, and she kind of shot that down. So I mean, and like I said, the Republicans do the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think I think um, the biggest issue with this is uh, we the people are not holding those we put as representatives. We're not holding them accountable.
No.
We have become a society of blind sheep that are followers, not leaders. We've become weak-willed, and yeah, I'm going to get up on a soapbox here and piss and moan. Something that we're going to definitely talk about on an upcoming kickoff episode. We've become the pacification of America, where we show people that people think that they're entitled because they've never heard the word no. They've never had to experience failure. Participation trophies are giving out, and you have people that are getting rewarded for doing the bare minimum, and people that's busted their ass uh, being on the same level as someone who does nothing, and the praise is equal. And I think that that's our problem with society. Nobody's held accountable anymore, and we're a society of entitled little assholes that needs a safe space and a coloring book or their own private social media platform uh, because we feel that the world revolves around us. And I'll kind of just leave it at that and let you chime in with your thoughts as well.
Yeah, and as someone, and I have heard a lot of shit about millennials as a generation. I am a millennial. On the older end, post college age, as they put it, and I am. I have heard so many people talk so much shit about, we're always wanting to be coddled and participation trophies and everything like that. And I'm going to admit, some of that sticks with me because I am one of the last, and everybody in my age group who are mid 30s and such. We're used to busting our ass. We're used to still having the mentality of the world, for the most part, doesn't owe us shit. We gotta work for it and earn it. And I'm good with that. The younger millennials and now in the Gen Z doing all of this crazy, stupid shit, they're the ones wanting the participation trophies and doing all of these stupid, god awful challenges on social media just for likes and recognition and attention. I want to go and smack them and saying, what the hell are you doing? Do you not see even what you're doing and how that looks on us? And you wonder why older generations, not Gen Xers like yourself, Jason, Gen Xers will always get it. But baby boomers, everybody on, they look at us and they pretty much said, well, we don't have to do shit for them. Look at what they're doing anyways. And I'm just like, what the ever living hell? They wonder why we as millennials are being ignored. So I do think certain things like social media and stuff have gone awry, and this is what it's created. I do think it's bullshit, because I can sit here and say my trophies that sometimes I sit and I look at, some others that I've displayed, I earned. Yes, I got that 5th place ribbon in my math competition in 5th grade because I did that well. I got 1st place in a spelling bee because I earned it. Student of the year because, well, I was the smart kid, even though I was weird and I got into trouble for talking a whole bunch. We're not even talking about that now. All these things I feel proud because while I did get some help, like scholarships and things, I took advantage of that and I turned that into something instead of just pissing it away to be an Instagram influencer. And for a lot of these other things, yeah, I think it's bullshit. Now, the one specific thing with AOC and Amazon, not even so much against her in that regard, but mainly because, well, look at what Amazon's done. If Amazon had better conditions in their warehouses and I didn't hear a whole bunch of horror stories, I would have been pissed off at her for denying those jobs. And I'm a bit pissed off at her because, well, there hasn't been too much of a replacement for those jobs. So I'm on your side. And for all these people in Texas that, and I ran into someone that still said, oh, Ted Cruz did nothing wrong. So when times get tough and people you see that are beneath you, you're feel free to run away and hide and leave your family poodle behind at that, for all of you animal lovers out there. You're cool with that, and you're going to turn around just because they're on the other side and shit on people who actually gave you help when your own representative that you elected decided to pretty much fuck off. I'm going to remember that whenever I'm in that position and I do something big. Just to let you know for some of those kinds of people out there.
Yeah, and like I said, this could go on for quite some time here. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot. This is going to be a future episode when we tackle the pacification of America.
Indeed.
Where we can actually do a deep dive into it. So, I mean, I think that we, the people, need to stand up and hold our constituents and our leaders accountable as constituents of these leaders. I think that you have to be held accountable. If you fuck up, you should be held accountable. If I fuck up, I have to answer to it.
Yeah.
There's consequences. It's basically Newton's law. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Meaning, for every choice you make, there's consequences, good or bad. There's an outcome. Life is a choose your own adventure. But the difference is, once you make that decision, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No.
You live with it.
Exactly.
And I think that's the problem, is because the accountability for people, especially our political leaders, doesn't exist. They have the people that they're representing are not having them answer for their digressions.
No. And I'm completely with you on that, and this is something that I was even talking about with Mom last night, and we came to an agreement. The thing with Republicans, you know they're all about themselves and all about a bunch of bullshit, but they telegraph their moves and their laws, who they choose and everything. They pretty much lay out what the deal is and how you need to be a part of it. And with the Democrats, They do the same thing, just hiding behind the scenes. They'll sit and smile and do all kinds of charm offensive, but if you really dig deep, they're also doing the same shit. You just don't know about it, and it's more deceptive. So yes, while there's all the talk about all of the bills and all of the voting laws and everything that's changed, I'm mad about it in a lot of ways, even though it hasn't affected me. But like I tell everybody, and how I signed off Point of Viewer, do your homework, do your research. You can, and people as individuals still have the power to step up and say, no, we're not just going to sit idly by. We're not just going to have all of this stuff done to us. We're not just going to continue to be shat on like Odell Beckham Jr. We're going to step up
Yeah.
and do something about this, and we are going to work and make this active change. I'm glad that you have some sects of people that are standing up and fighting and doing that. We all need to join in, because damn it, we all can.
Yeah, so I mean, and this is going to tie it all back in to our first topic. Now I lost my train of thought. I had a good segue to tie everything up as we prepare to wrap up. But oh yeah, I know what it was. And this goes through something. And if you know, I'm very versed in history.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, there's the quote: "If you forget history, it's deemed to repeat itself."
Absolutely.
You know, how do you control a massive group of individuals, Eric?
How?
Them not being educated and informed.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh, and it ties back into the topic of race that we've, you know, me and you spoke about. If you, the most dangerous person is an educated one.
Mm-hmm.
We've lost and politicians have made it to where they have their own news networks, they have their own social media platforms, they have all these very, very influential people spouting off rhetoric to the masses. And because they're famous, people take their word as gospel, basically, as a phrase coined here where I live. Um, and they don't do the research for themselves. They think that the world has become so, well, not the world, the United States has become so naive
Mm-hmm.
that people do not want to think for themselves and have taken the stance that if a social media influencer, movie star, pro athlete says it, then it must be true.
Exactly.
And and that is something that infuriates me because you can ask somebody, why do you believe that way? And they cannot formulate a coherent answer. You get either yelling, screaming, because that's what this generation has learned.
Mm-hmm.
That if you don't get your way, if you yell and scream and throw a tantrum, whoever you're yelling and screaming at will give in and you'll get your way.
Just like that damn cartoon Caillou. I was so glad that got canceled. But it's like,
I have no idea about it. Never even heard
oh,
of it.
long story short, French Canadian 4-year-old bald kid who never really learns a lot from episode to episode. 90% of the time, he just screams and goes on all kinds of tantrums, and his parents give in. And I'm like, what the hell are kids learning from this? And why was it on the air for 20 years? Yeah, it's. Yeah. But to quote the lyric from the song that I mentioned in our group chat, America by Motionless in White, We make saints out of useless pop stars. We put up our status and beg for attention. That is what we've become. And damn it, I'm sick of it. Like in the movie Network from 1976, I'm a human being, goddammit, and my life has value. I just don't have to sit here and be spoon-fed something just because this is what you want me to think. No. I have a brain. I'm gonna fucking use it. Because at the end of the day, if you control the information, you control the narrative. You control the story. All these people at the top
Exactly.
have learned that, and they've been using it to their advantage for years upon years. Now, we gotta flip the switch, stop hitting the snooze button, and wake the fuck up.
And with that being said, I feel that that's a good point to close the show on. It's been a real fun episode, to say the least. We went down a few rabbit holes, but we kind of feel we got all of our points across, and definitely opened up some conversations going forward. Definitely, one thing is the something we touched on a Let's Talk About It on the kickoff is stay tuned for that. We're going to touch on the idea of self-worth via likes and shares and social media. We did, like I said, we touched on it on a Let's Talk About episode on the kickoff, where you can go to the W2M network in the archives, look up Let's Talk About It Part 2, and listen to the last, I think it's about the last 30 minutes of that show.
Mm-hmm.
And we kind of, me, you, Harry, and at that time, our co-host, Randy Isbell, we go into to it based on a incident that happened with a fantasy football analyst and his misstepping, should we say, sliding into a young girl's DMs and what was said and what transpired. So look for that on the horizon. I think we've got a lot of good topics to talk about. So where can everybody find you, Eric?
You can find me on Twitter at SquidSportsHead, where I'm getting into more of the live tweeting game, especially if I can do a little bit more with hockey. You might see me with there. And if you're not looking for different sports or other takes, or you want to talk about different stuff here on Black Irish or elsewhere, you can also find me on Facebook at Erik Watkins. Look up a picture of a cartoon version of me sitting in a recliner holding a glass of wine. You know the drill. If you're looking for something a little extra spicy, hit me up on Twitter, slide in my DMs. You will go, after you undergo a proper vetting process, you will get a treasure trove of all sorts of other social media. And, yeah, this plug, like always and others, brought to you by the fine folks at Rick's TNT LLC. Tutoring and tax consultation, wedding officiating services available, wedding officiating and notary public services available in the state of Florida. Hit me up.
All right, and you can locate me, W2M Chairman, on Twitter. Be more than happy to interact. If you have a listen to this, or you have an opinion or a topic, slide into my DMs. We would love to hear some feedback, get some takes that we can bring onto the episode. Totally be anonymous. Won't call you out unless you ask to be called out and be recognized with your opinion on the show. I know a lot of people like to have that hidden state because they don't want people to really attack them or anything. So if you want to be anonymous, that's perfectly fine. Shoot me a DM on Twitter. It'll just be between me, you. I'll let Erik see it. Erik will know who you are. I'll know who you are. And that's about as far as it goes. Also, you could find us on the kickoff here on the W2M network, where we are joined by our other two panel members there, where we talk all kinds of sports with host Erik and our newest panelist Kennedy, who has fitted very well after one episode, and through the interactions offline through our group chat, she brings a definite different side to the sports world that we've been missing, and that has been a breath of fresh air to the podcast. Also on W2M Net, you can also find the Red Legion Broadcasting Network, wrestling podcast, movie reviews, music reviews, video game reviews. We've got a cup of tea for just about any genre. So, with that being said, my name is Jason. That's Erik, and it's been appreciated. We thank you for listening to the Black Irish here on the W2M Network.
We'll catch you next time.